Hello, friends. Today we are going to do a pair of Christmas tree earrings. I don't have, oh wait, I have an example. I lied. This is what they look like. We're gonna make a copper pair, but this is essentially what they look like. I have listed the materials in the description, but basically you're gonna need 4 pieces of 14-inch long 22 gauge wire, and then 2 4mm facets. If you want to make a pendant, you can basically do the exact same thing. However, you'll do it with 20 inches, 2 20-inch pieces of 20 gauge wire, and you can use a 5mm facet if you want to do it that way. So that is an option, but we're going to just do the earrings today. So, hey Melissa, hey Linda, how are y'all doing? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of my 14-inch pieces of 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to fold them in half. Well, not completely fold them in half, but we're going to find our halfway point, and we're going to bend a little loop into them. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Angel Dawn. Hey, Connie. First time catching you live here. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So we're just going to make that about that big. I guess for size reference, I'm going to actually just, I feel like everybody knows how big a pencil eraser is. This is about how big that first little loop is. And then we're going to turn it to the side, and we're going to start working on the actual tree part. So this is our tree trunk, and we're going to take one side, and one thing to always remember is you're always going to curl your loops towards the bottom of the tree, and then I go right, left, right, left, right, left until I get to the top. I am able to speak freely here. Yeah, I am. I got my strawberry quartz yesterday. Yay! All right, so I'm just gonna do one loop, like I said, going down. And if it is intimidating to do this with 2 wires, you can just grab like a thicker gauge and do it with 1. You could do it with just a single 20 gauge wire if you want. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just pinching those 2 wires between my thumb and my index finger, and I truly am just kind of eyeballing the size here. But my goal is essentially to make these 2 loops just about the same size. And this design is relatively forgiving, so don't panic if they're not identical. You'll be okay. Okay, so now we've got this. For those of you who are like, how big is that? Let's measure it. So this is just about 3/4 of an inch, a little over. And then, like I said, I like to do right, left, right, left, right, left. So I'm going to start with my right side, and I'm going to bend over. I just want it just a little bit shorter than the loop we did the first time. So just a little shorter, and we're just going to bend right back up like that. So happy to see this. I'm so happy to see you. Welcome. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Remember, always bending down towards the trunk. Just like that. And then we're going to keep going back and forth. Just going a little more narrow every time. You don't want to go too narrow too quickly, because then you'll get like a real, I mean, you could, if you want to, if you want like a little stout tree, you can do it that way. Or if you want a nice lean tall tree, you can do smaller loops that take longer to taper. It's all down to your preference. Now, I am curious, how many of you got notified that I was live, or just saw me? Maybe I posted on my little note on Instagram and my note on Facebook. It's on my story on Facebook too. I'm curious how you guys discovered that I was live today. You got a notification. Awesome. Now, do you have your, I'm assuming you have your notifications turned on for me then. Awesome. Awesome. All right. I usually always go for just 5 rows. So this last one I want to make sure is relatively small, because that's going to be our last one. I do find that if I use flat nose pliers very, very gently across both those 2 wires, I have a little bit of an easier time keeping them aligned with each other. So if you're struggling with that, you might want to just try using some flat nose pliers. Now, if you have done left to right or right to left, like I did, your left side wire, the wire that came from your left, should be crossing over to your right and should be closest to you. And then the right side should be on the left now and furthest away from you. They go by so fast. Fair enough. All right, so now I'm going to take that top wire, or set of wires, and I'm just going to fold them down out of my way. So we have something that looks like this. And then I'm going to take this wire up here, and usually I try and like bend it straight up first, just to give a little bit of space here. I don't want a lot of space right here. I just want a little bit. I just want enough to give resistance right here. And then I'm going to bend it out. Like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a little tension setting. Spring setting. I don't actually know the official name for this setting, but basically we're just going to loop back around, and we want this to be just smaller than our facet. That way our facet can sit right there, just like that. So when we flip it over, the point of our facet is sitting in there like a little, just like a little basket, right? And once we know that our facet is where it needs to be, you can take it away. There are two ways to finish what I'm doing. One of the ways will give you a star, which is what I'm going to show. And then the other way, you can actually just do a facet on top. So to showcase how to do just the facet on top, basically skip the next step that I'm doing. I'm going to make it so that it'll be a star. But if you want it to look like this, just don't do the next step, and then you just keep the two wires together. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So at this point, in order to make a star, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bottom wire right here from these two, and I'm going to take my Xuron 483 pliers, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find right at that like center line, right? We're going to find that center line. And I'm going to grab and bend down like this. So if you can imagine that this is like, pardon me for putting it this way, the crotch of the star. It worked. I feel like it's the most effective way. I'm sure there's like a math terminology that would be better and more appropriate, but you know what I mean when I say the crotch of the star, right? You get it? Anyway. So you're going to start there. And good morning. And you're just going to start a little zigzag, right? So I'm just grabbing right there, and we're going to zigzag and make 5 points like a star. You can get creative here if you have enough wire and do more than 5 points if you want. But you know, that's entirely up to you. I'm doing 5 points. Anyway, so I'm just zigzagging back and forth to the size of my flat nose pliers. And the sharper those bends, the better, but you will likely have to go back and adjust them. That's 4. And 5. And then once we get to our 5th one, we'll just go straight. And then we're going to cross our fingers that we gave ourselves enough wire. I'm using from the crotch of the star from now on. Where's the lie, though? You know what I mean? This is why when I when YouTube's like, is this video for kids? I'm like, no. No, we're just gonna go ahead and cover all the bases here and say, nah, not for kids. I know it's jewelry making and that feels silly, but we're gonna say not for kids because we say things like crotch of the star. Anyway, so now we're gonna take our facet and we're gonna place it in its little home. And I'm gonna take my thumb and my index finger and just kind of squeeze it between there. And then what I'm gonna do is round my wires. It's okay. Around the stone. So I'm just kind of gonna build that star around my facet. Obviously we want that center point to be centered. So be patient, don't pull super hard, and don't get frustrated if your stone falls out at this point. Obviously you saw mine just did. I'm just using my pliers to kind of bend my star around so that it lands where it's supposed to. Okay. Hey, people are watching, okay? Let's do what I ask. People are watching, little facet. Shh, shh, shh. Okay. All right. So now that you are here, and like I said earlier, if you just want to do the loopity swoopity, you can. Luckily for you, Palma Sensor, this will be recorded and will be available to watch later. And you're here now, so that's cool. Anyway, so basically, you're going to do exactly what we just did if you don't do the star. But just keep it straight and go around with both of them and keep them like parallel. That's it. That's the only difference. You're just going to go, just keep both wires straight instead of having one that's zigzagging like a star. That's it. Okay. And then when you get around after your first loop, when you get to the crotch of the star, or if you're not doing a star, the bottom where the top of the tree is, you're going to, at this point, this is when you want to be sure that your stone is in there. Get in there. At this point, you want to take both those wires, which are now friends again, and you want to go over top of just the edge of your stone, like this. Oh, thanks, Palma Sensor. I appreciate that. And then in theory, you have more wire than I've left myself with. But we're going to make it work. Maybe start with 15 inches. I'm wondering if maybe I just didn't fold it exactly in half when I started, but nevertheless, it's fine. Okay, so now we're going to take these two wires gently and we're going to coax them. It's easier if you have more wire than I do. But it wouldn't be one of my YouTube lives if I didn't screw something up somehow. And you're just going to fold that over to the back. And now your stone is secure in there. Right? And we can flip over to the back. And we're going to take these wires that we had folded over before. And we're going to angle them up. I like to take them and then pretend like I'm like tracing this front star. See how it's like lining up with the front star? I like to trace that point of the star out. And it makes kind of like this little diamond shape back here. But it also looks nice and clean in the front. You could just do a loop. It's all good. And then we're going to bring that straight back down. And then we're going to take these. Again, in theory, you would have a longer wire here, but we're going to work with what we've got. I'm just going to pull this away from the star just a little bit so that I have a little more room to work. And because I've ran out of wire, I'm just going to kind of coax this around here. And then we're going to pretend that I have two wires right here. And what you would do with those two wires is just go around that little loop you made twice, and then you can clip it. Or you can do what I do if you were short on wire like I was. And then you'll just pinch that down. Raise your little loop back up. Align it with your star there. I like to Keep that nice and clean. And then these two wires, you're going to take straight down like this. I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit. Okay. Straight down, and then I spread them just a little bit so that they line up with this little spot right here. See how they're like that? And then this part right here is very important because what you don't want to happen here is something to get hung on any of this and pull while somebody's wearing it because it's earrings. And then it just like comes unsprung, right? We don't want that. So the reason I do this part is primarily for the integrity of the piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire, I'm going to fold it up, and I'm just going to tuck it around and then fold it right back down like that. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Just like that. And then you'll take your flush cutters, always cut flush side towards your work so that you get a nice flat clean cut. Boop. And then you can just squish that down. And I'm just straightening that out because... And then you can go in here and you can fix your star. I like to just take my pliers and go in and just squeeze. And that seems to like straighten that up nicely. So it's not as rounded. And then you can also go in and kind of clean up your little loops. And make them, you know, the way you want them to sit now that they're a little more secured. And you have a little tree. I guess hearts in the comments if you want me to go ahead and do the next one. Sometimes when I record live streams here, I feel like, you know, all right, I did it. It's recorded. You guys can go back and watch it again. But sometimes I miss things. Sometimes my hand gets in the way. Sometimes I, you know, get distracted and I'm off camera. So, you know, I'd much rather do it twice in a recording if you all would like it. All right, let's do it. All right, like I said, we are starting with two 14-inch pieces of 22 gauge wire. And I'm going to fold those in half while keeping them nice and aligned. And we're going to create a little loop. And now that we already have our first tree, we can use it as reference because sometimes, you know, when we're just making them, they can vary in size. So I'm just going to use my first one to make sure my sizing is right. All right, so there's my little loop. Yes, I don't know if they're 170. I don't have like I don't think they have a, yes, yep, 170 micro shear. I don't know, do my other ones have that on them? Yeah, they sure enough they do. Yes. All right. Same thing, we're always starting our loops going towards the trunk of the tree rather than up, although it does feel counterintuitive. And then we're just going to compare with the first one. It's a little large. All right. Now we can go from there. Again, right, then left. If you find that you're struggling with consistency between each earring, I would recommend making pendants instead. And to make pendants, you could go this size for pendants, or you could go for a larger gauge if you want like a more sturdy, thicker, larger pendant. You're welcome, Linda. One thing I have found that I feel like helps keep this nice and clean is whenever I loop it back, these two wires stay parallel with each other. Well-used cutters, yeah. They're broken. I don't know how many of you were there the day that it broke, but it was devastating. But I still use them. I use them for like more heavy-duty cuts at this point, just because I'm like cherishing my other ones. Not my cats fighting in the background. Just make sure that those are about the same size. Pretty on point. No, Sherry, you're not, oh, excuse me, you're not doing anything wrong. That is just TikTok being TikTok. Hey, Karen, how are you? You could absolutely I mean, I feel like if you were to use a jig though, it could possibly like, it would be much larger potentially. But I suppose you could make a jig for this. It would be difficult though with the 2 wires at a time to do this with a jig, but 1 wire at a time you could absolutely do a jig. Anyway, so again, we're taking this wire on our left and we're just going to fold it down. This wire on the right, we're going to go straight up just before bending it basically right back where it came from. And then creating a loopity swoopity. Make sure your stone fits. Looks good. Boop. And then we'll start our star. And I do think I'm going to go back and maybe change it to 15 inches instead of 14. I suppose it just depends on how little you make your loops. I was wondering how useful it can be. I'm gonna be honest with you, Palma Sensor. I have a jig. I got it when I first started wire wrapping, and it has proven to be more of a pain than anything else. And I think I've maybe only used it once in the 7 years that I have done this, because it was like it was more frustrating to use it than it was to just like do the thing with my hands. But I am you know, that's just my opinion, and many people have found success using jigs. My opinion is just that. It's my opinion. I didn't realize all my profile pictures on here. It happens. And again, this go round, we go over the edge of the stone to secure it in there. If we have enough wire, my gosh. Wow, talk about pushing it to the limit. It's funny too, because I've got all this extra wire over here. And noted. We're just gonna pull that enough to tuck it back here. And then again with this side. Making our little diamond. gonna do 3 loops, even though I only did 2 on the other one, because this one wire didn't actually like loop around like it was supposed to. And because of that, I want it to look like it matches the other side, even though technically it's not been completed the same way. Yes. Have crashes this weekend. Oh, do it, do it. They definitely have been selling pretty well. I'm pleased with them. I'm going to make sure that we've got the same size here before I fold anything over. It looks perfect. I do find going from the back like this to be the easiest way. And then I'll show you guys what they look like oxidized. I think they're super cute. They look like, I don't know, like antique Christmas vibes, I guess. Vintage Christmas. Well, I guess I should do the earwire. Cute. I have your first ever pair. That's awesome. Very cool. All right, so now I'm going to take 2 1.75-inch pieces of 20 gauge. For those of you who don't know, or if you, you know, like saving time, like I do, I highly recommend, because I feel like most people, for the most part, we have relatively similar sized hands. So what I like to do, and it's a trial and error thing, but try this because it will save you so much time. And who likes measuring? Nobody. I like to line up my wire with this line on my finger right here and hold it there. And then I line up my cutters with the very tip of my finger like that. And then I cut. And as weird as that may be, the amount of time it saves having to actually like search for a measuring tool, a ruler, that's what those are called. Over time, it's like so much time and effort saved. Because in theory, hopefully my finger will always be there. And then I flip that over and I take my flush cutters and I just cut the very end off so that they are nice and flat at the end. And then I'll take my round nose pliers This is another trial and error thing because I have found that not all round nose pliers are built the same. I have two identical pair of round nose pliers. When I say identical, I mean like from a purchasing perspective, I bought the same pair of pliers. Same pair of pliers. But look at the difference in the size. This makes a huge difference when you're working. Something to be mindful of. Not all round nose pliers are built the same. So, anyway. So I have just found where on my pliers makes the size loop that I like, and I just kind of always go to that same spot. Right, Linda? And then I take my, these on the other hand are calibrated. I take my bail making pliers. These are 5mm by 8mm. I have them listed. If you look in the description of this video, my website is there, and like all the tools that I use are listed in the section that says jewelry making. Anyway, I'll just bend this around like this, and we'll do that one more time. Usually I'll just line this up just like this and then fold it over like that. And sometimes if you want, you can take the box part of your pliers. You can go in here. I like to just like line up the box with the little round spot right there. And you can just bend back. Do the same thing on this one. Like that. And then we'll go in here with our steel bench block and our chasing hammer. And I usually just hammer it right here. This will help work harden your wire and give your ear wire a little more integrity. It also just looks nice. Yeah, I always joke that I have these step bail makers, and that I still love them as if they're my own. It's like a, you know, it's like a stepchild joke. Anyway, jokes are less funny if you have to explain them. Nevertheless, I make the joke all the time. Wow. Are you wowing my bad joke? All right, so then we get there. What you could also do if you want is use, this tool is called a cup burr, C-U-P-B-U-R-R. And it's got its little cup, as you can see, with some diamond burrs inside the cup. And when you turn the cup around the end of the wire, it will round out your wire. There are also in existence, all of these are listed in my tool section, by the way, electronic cup burrs that you can get. Red handle step pliers. Oh my gosh, I wish they had a red handle. I'm about to put tape on them just so I can call them that. As you can see, it just rounds out the end of that wire so that you see the difference. Now, my brand new flush cutters did a really good job, but I feel like if you look close enough, you can see that rounded edge there. It's going to be much nicer to someone's ear holes than than just, you know, a jagged cut wire. What you can also do if you are like me, or like I was when I first started wire wrapping, and you're like really just champing at the bit to make the thing, and you don't want to wait for the tool to show up in the mail, go to Walmart or your local hardware store and get these metal files. They're pretty inexpensive, and you can just file the end of the wire. One thing I will say, when you are filing the ends of your wire, is you never want to go back and forth like this. You want to make sure that every time you're going in the same direction. This will reduce your chances of any kind of splintering in the wire. So just always make sure you file in the same direction. Same thing with your fingernails, by the way. If you're ever filing your nails, don't file back and forth. It's not good for your nails. And you can just do that, and then, you know, check, feel it out with your finger. Got a whole package of nice files for less than $2 at Harbor Freight. See? Boom. Roasted. No. That's amazing. See, I knew they were super inexpensive. I was going to say like $6. I think I got a 3-pack for $6 a while ago. Anyway, so I'm just going to open my little loop. And for these, I have found that I really like the dangle a little better if I only hang them on the little back thing. You can stick it through all the way if you want, but I feel like it just doesn't have the movement. It depends on how you make it. And also depends on how big your loop is. But then you just throw that on there. And there you have it. Voila. How to make earrings. When you if you want to make a pendant, the only thing I would suggest changing with it, again, I would go up to a 20 gauge wire if you want a larger pendant, just a little bit larger. I would just go for 20 gauge because it's like sturdier for a pendant. However, if you just want to do a small necklace, 22 will work. The one thing I would change if you were doing a pendant is when you come up here to do this section with this loop, the loop that the earring's hanging, that's hanging on the earring right there. Just bring it up, and instead of going around and making that little diamond shape, just go up all the way to the top of the star with both of them. Hold on. Just gonna do like a little example. Okay, so you're gonna go, we got a star, right? So you're gonna go up to the top point of the star, right? And you're gonna take your pliers and just have them lined together, like parallel like this. Take your pliers, go straight back, bend straight down like this, and you can like pinch those together, and so the back of your piece would look like this, and you basically just do the exact same thing, but it'll look like this instead, and that way you can put a chain through it instead of the ear wire, and it won't hang wonky. So that's the only difference I would recommend for your little loop here, if you want to do a pendant instead. Do you prefer the manual or battery operated? Honestly, I have found that I always go back to the file, and I think the reason I go back to the file is probably maybe unique to me. I think the reason I go back to the file is because this doesn't really show as well on screen. I also feel like it's not as effective, or it doesn't feel like it's as effective. And like, I don't know, this, I feel like I go for the file because it feels like it's not only like doing something for me, it feels like it's making a difference, but I think my audience can like hear it working, if that makes sense. Yeah, Sherry, the trees are available. I haven't given them like an item number over in my actual shop, like on my website, but I can do that right now if you'd like. I will say, this item number will only be available actually, you know what? I know what I'll do. I'll make it to where it just says copper trees on the drop down menu. Give me a second. I'll make it so that you can just go grab one if you want. You can grab a pair. Let's see. Manage variations. Copper. Christmas tree. Oh, I gotta put Xmas because it doesn't give me enough room. There we go. All right. So if you go to my website, www.southernuniquejewelry.com, it's listed in the description as well. As of right this moment, you can find these earrings by going, hold on. If you go to my website, it'll bring you here. This is southernuniquejewelry.com. This second button down that's wiggling and yelling at you says click here to claim an item from the live stream. If you click there for right now, once this item is gone, I'll probably have moved it into the regular shop. But for right now, December 2025, you can just click style, and then the very, very top thing says copper Christmas tree ear. It wouldn't fit earring, but you can just select that right there if you want to get a pair of the earrings for now. So that's it, guys. They will be oxidized. This is what they look like oxidized. If you don't want them oxidized, please just reach out and say something after you claim them. You should be able to message me. But this is what they look like oxidized. I feel like it gives like a very like, I don't know, Norman Rockwell Christmas vibe in my opinion. But I think it's super cute. Aren't they cute? I like them a lot. And these have been through the tumbler, which isn't necessary, but they've been through the tumbler, so they're work hardened a little bit more, a little bit stronger. So anyway, that's it, guys. I appreciate you being here. I do plan on being live on TikTok most of the day today, so I will be over there. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope it inspired you, and I hope you hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so. I am desperately trying to get more content over here as quickly as I possibly can. It is difficult this time of year, but anyway, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Love you. Goodbye.